Hi there, friends. So today I'm going to show you how to make a petite ruffle. So you want to tip, if you're doing petite ruffles, you're going to use like a 104, which if you can see has a wider end here and a thinner here. You can use the larger ruffle tip, which I put in the instructions for the buttercream frosting if you want to do a large ruffle. But me personally, I prefer this one for ruffles because I like the petite size of it. So before you start your ruffles, you want to make sure the top already looks how you want. So I'm just going to do like a nice swirl. I'm going to take my thing and just kind of make some swirl marks around the top. Just a really simple kind of swirl pattern. And then I'll put like a topper on this one later. And then what you're going to do, make sure it's nice and smooth right on that very edge. And you're going to take your the wide end of your tip. Hold on one second. I want to make sure that this is focused so you can see. All right. Sorry about that. My camera wasn't focusing right. You want to take the wide end of the tip and put it at the base. And you're just going to go around the side very slowly, light, even pressure all the way around, starting at the top. So the fat part of the tip is at the bottom and the thin side is pointing up as we go around. Nice, even, try to keep a straight line when you go all the way around. And then when you get back to where you started, just release pressure, okay? And then you're gonna put the fat end right below the ruffle you just did and go around. Nice, even pressure. And the ruffle you're doing now is kind of pushing up the ruffle that was already done to help support it so that it doesn't fall down. That's why we start just below it, okay? And then when you get back to where you started, release pressure and pull away. Okay, and we're just going to do that all the way down. Keep that wide end of your tip really close to the cake to make sure that the frosting is actually catching the cake. You don't want to create a ribbon that's not actually on the cake or it'll fall down. Okay, just keep going like that. Around and around and around. Make sure you can kind of see. We're getting a nice ruffle pattern there. Okay. Now, if you have any spots where you notice that the ruffle is either too separated from the top one, like there's a gap in your ruffle pattern, you can use a toothpick in a minute to kind of touch it so that it tacks up to the ruffle below it. This also can be a little bit easier if you're seated so that you can see below it, or put your cake on an elevated surface so you can see the ruffles as you work your way down. Once you get the hang of it, you can move a little bit faster in your spinning. Just make sure you're keeping contact with your ruffle. Don't go so fast that your ribbon doesn't catch on the cake, because then you're going to lose that pattern. Okay. I'll show you. So we're getting a nice little lifted ruffle pattern, just like that. And you can start with just a crumb coat on the sides. You don't have to smooth the cake. Just do a basic, I'm gonna come down here so I can see the side. Just do a basic crumb coat because you're covering it with these ruffles anyway. So I'm just gonna keep going around and around and around. Pushing that up with the ruffle that I'm doing now is supporting the ruffle above it. And then stop when you get to where you started again and start the new layer. So this is really easy to do with that ombre pattern we did before, where we gradually add color. It's a lot easier to start with a light color and work your way down into the darker color because you're starting at the top with ombre. If you start with a darker color, that means you have to pre-mix all of your colors to work your way to a lighter pattern. So when I do ombre, especially with ruffles, because you're starting at the top, I work my way down. So I do lighter color and then gradually add color as I go. So I don't have to mix all of my colors to start with. Just gradually add to it. Makes it a lot easier. And I think it has a more sunset color pattern when you go gradually darker. So that's my preference. So once you get really close to the bottom, you're gonna rest the base of the tip on the actual cake board to get that final ruffle in. So I'm almost there now. A couple more layers here. If your frosting starts to get soft from being squeezed in your hand because it's getting warm, you can take a break and come back to it. Put your frosting in the fridge for a minute to cool it back down if you need to. Once you start getting a little quicker with the frosting, it gets a little easier too. If you have a place where your ruffle falls down, like mine just did, I'm just very gently lifting it back up with my finger so that it catches on the ruffle above. There we go. Perfect. All right, so I'm just gonna show you just about to the bottom. And I'll use a toothpick to kind of tack up. See where this ruffle has a little bit of a gap? You can use a toothpick underneath it to kind of poke it up so it sticks to the ruffle above it, okay? All right, final ruffle here. Around. Like that, okay? So then I'm gonna tack up some of these ruffles to make sure that they stick to the one above them, and it'll come out a beautiful, smooth ruffle pattern. So that's the pretty basic, simple ruffle. You can do that exact same technique, only going up and down. And when you do up and down, again, you wanna make sure that you're angling the fat tip up against the cake and the pointed end away from the cake if you want to do an up and down ruffle. I personally prefer this side because I like the way that they kind of lay against each other. So that's it. Feel free to send me a message if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer, and enjoy your cake.